guys, this is Rick coming at you with Weed to No Basis, the podcast for all things cannabis business related. Are you an entrepreneur? Have something you wanted to create, something you wanted to bring to life in the cannabis industry? Maybe you've always wanted to partake in one of the biggest industries in modern day history. This is the podcast to listen to that. Okay, we are live, you all. And as I say that, I'm looking away from the camera. I actually started my timer and my clock fell as I went live. So guys, we're here on Weed to No Basis with another episode. And remember, if you're watching or listening, because we stream this on YouTube, WeedTube, Stitcher, and iTunes, remember it because you too are on a Weed to No Basis. And I'm super stoked because I have a guest here from where my heart is, Southern California, Orange County. This is Nicole Davidsohn. Hey, Nicole, how you doing today?
Hello, Rick. I'm doing excellent. I'm so happy to be here on the Weed to No Basis podcast, YouTube channel, all that good stuff.
I love it. And you're in OC, right? Orange County.
Yes.
Nice.
Beautiful.
I love it. Love it. And I'm in Texas, just as a reminder for you all, because sometimes we record from various parts of the country, but I'm in Texas and I'm honestly, a word my daughter would use, I'm jelly, because I'm SoCal born and bred. SoCal, I was going to say braised. You would think I'm hungry. SoCal born and raised, and now living in Texas. So super stoked. I got to ask, before we get into like talking and getting to know you, I just got to ask, because behind you, the guests are seeing it. And if you're listening to this, folks, you're going to want to tune into the YouTube, because you can't see what I'm seeing. You have a picture of a dog back there. And tell me about, I'm pointing, tell me about your dog. What's his or her name?
So this is Mary Jane, pretty suitable. She is my late dog. I had her from 6 weeks old up until the age of 15. And she was my best friend, my everything, basically my baby, and my inspiration. And she's actually the reason I'm sitting here today.
Really?
So, yes. So what happened with my dog was that when she was about 12 years old, and she had some swollen lymph nodes in her throat. So we took her to the vet, and she got diagnosed with lymphoma, or canine cancer. And they told me she had 3 months to live with or without chemotherapy, which broke my heart and made me go lay in bed with her and say, well, shit, if she's dying, I'm dying too. Like, no way, my best friend's not dying. Like, this is crazy. But at the time, I was actually running a cannabis dispensary and making medicine for myself and my own autoimmune disorder. And it was in the form of raw cannabis juice. And my partner, Dane, comes in, sees me, like snuggling her in the bed, just crying. And anyone knows if they have a dog or a loved one and they get this diagnosis, there's this period of time if it's really hard to accept and move forward and decide, what am I going to do? So he said, look, we're in this industry for a reason. You're making this juice and it's helping you in your ulcerative colitis. Let's give it to the dog. It's the reason Prop 215 became legal in the first place, was because of AIDS patients and cancer patients. So let's put it to the test. Like, we believe in it. We don't believe in chemo. Let's put it to the test. So we started giving Mary raw cannabis juice in her dog food. And within 15 minutes of eating it, she was running around. And anyone who knows someone who has cancer, it's an energy sucking disease. And so that's like the first sign, is you're really tired all the time. So when I saw her run around like a pup again, jumping and everything, I was like inspired. So long story short, we're here today with a company called Eva, and Mary was able to not only live for those 3 months, but she was able to live 33 months. So 10 times the amount of time that chemotherapy would have given her. So, and she was healthy and happy. She was actually chasing geese 3 days before she passed away from old age.
That's incredible. I'm glad we started with that. I didn't intend to. I wanted to hear about, the stuff, the products and what you were doing and how you got into it. And I think it's pretty telling that her picture, Mary Jane's picture, is behind you. So to be fair, you were already in the industry creating your own products. And so was Mary Jane's, was MJ's diagnosis something that, did it stoke the fire? Did it, I mean, let me see where I'm trying to go with this. You're already in the industry. What changed?
So we were a delivery service. That was our way to get the foot in the door. We, just turning back the time a little bit, we graduated Oaksterdam. Dane, Hemp, and I, it's just us two. And we graduated Oaksterdam in January 2015, and we went there because I was actually suffering from post-concussion syndrome.
Oh.
And so the story is real long. It's like many different things ended up, where cannabis has actually been a savior many times in my life. But I was suffering from post-concussion syndrome, and that's really another debilitating disease. It was even worse than ulcerative colitis, because ulcerative colitis is flares. It comes up and down. You get these breaks in this time to be a normal person. But post-concussion syndrome is constant irritation, not able to think, not able to talk straight, not able to articulate your thoughts, be here talking to you. So that was really the first reason we looked into the medical benefits of cannabis. Was to heal my brain. And that was actually because my neurologist in Washington, D.C. at the time told me, the opiates aren't helping you. You're not metabolizing them well. They just would make me really sick, like nauseous, and that wasn't good for my anemia. So he said, have you tried cannabis? And it actually reverses the pain signals instead of closing the gate in your brain. And so I said, yeah, I smoke weed, but I didn't know it could really help me. And so then he's like, yeah, well, I just came back from this conference and I learned that, this is how THC can heal the brain instead of actually damage the brain. And so he taught me that. And I thought, oh, wow, I thought just as a teenager, I was just being a, degenerate kid. But that's when we went to Oaksterdam. We learned the history, how to open a dispensary, how to, get our foot in the door, be above board. We moved to Sonoma County because they had nationwide, they had the best laws set up for you to come in and create a business, and even a vertically integrated business. You can grow, sell, create products, do everything in-house.
Fair to say then, let me back up. This is one of the hottest industries around in modern history, at least in my lifetime. There's a lot of opportunists, and I'm not judging anybody, just so you know, folks. There's a lot of opportunists who are hopping in because for whatever reason, let's just say there's a capitalistic endeavor or they want to make money. Nothing wrong with that. You were doing this long before that. You were doing it for personal reasons, for health, for wellness reasons. And so, okay, I guess what I'm trying to do is for us and for the listeners who are getting to know you is kind of construct a picture, because I like to tease out the story of why folks get into it and how it's impacted them. And so your story goes beyond just Mary Jane, your pup, and ulcerative colitis. This goes before that to some things you suffered prior to, where the traditional remedies like opiates weren't working as told to you by your doctor.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And I'm looking at your website. So when you see me looking up, I know some folks are listening. It's because I like to kind of put these pictures together. And I notice you guys do have pet relief products on your site, and it's plant-based. I love that you say plant-based on Eva, and on my browser's trying to catch up. You know what I also love? Whole plants for whole people. Tell me about that mantra or slogan. Tell us about, what does that mean? Whole plants for whole people.
I love that you asked that question, because I brought over a banana as a prop. So I was like, all right, I know he's going to ask this question. And some of our seasonings. So back here, this is the one with the label, garlic and herb.
Oh, wow.
But I wanted to show you just the one, I have like my own little one that I use, because this is my favorite one. And you can see it doesn't have a label because I eat so much of this that I just, like, I have my own stash that I refill my jar with. It don't need a label. But so basically what's in here is the actual whole plant, the whole flower ground up is, and for, specially preserved is in this. And so you're eating the whole plant. Just like this banana, the whole thing is here. There's nothing taken out. So that's what makes us unique and different, is that no extracts, no isolates. We just use the whole thing that nature gave us.
Nicole, let me ask you a question real quick before we go on. So just for a clarifying question. So because you're in California, and because a lot of listeners are in states where, like I'm in Texas. So when you say whole plant, are you referring to marijuana, hemp, like kind of break that down? Because sometimes, here's what I don't want to happen is somebody in Georgia or Texas to go to your website and say, holy crap, this is only marijuana. So you're referring to, when you say a whole plant, kind of just real quick, give the listeners, what do you mean by the whole plant?
I mean industrial hemp, craft flowers.
Okay.
So we actually get the flowers from East Fork Cultivar. They're a multi-award winning farm, actually #1 US market leader. And they have beautifully grown flowers. So just like the flowers that everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to smoke that, that's what we eat. And that's what we use in everything. So we said, like, that's what I'm familiar with is smoking weed. So why go anywhere from that whole flower? So I'm like, all right, as people say, like, some old hippies will probably say, we used to chew on the stems, for like an anti-anxiety. And you can give your big tree trunks to your dogs and have them get some CBDA.
Nice. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that because here, random story, but this is interesting that you held up I think the seasoning you held up had a garlic flavor. Did it say garlic on it?
Yeah, garlic and herb.
So this is totally random, but nothing's ever random, right? So this morning, before we started recording on the weekend, we're recording on a weekend, by the way, for the listeners who listen to this later. My wife and I have a little tradition. We'll go work out together on the weekends. Most of the time, a lot of times, we'll do some CrossFit workouts downstairs in the gym, and then we'll come home. And then it's kind of our tradition, the two of us. I make eggs, and I make them the way my grandfather did. And I make them, and I always put a garlic seasoning on them. And today we ran out. Like today, I said, Lisa, where's the garlic? And she says, it was gone, didn't have it. And then randomly, I'm like, I need some garlic. It's not the same without having the garlic seasoning. And then you hold up a bottle of garlic.
There you go.
Hemp seasoning.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have 2 garlics. So if you like spicy, or if you like, this one has like sesame seeds, it's a little bit more mild, but this one's garlic pepper, and that goes really good on eggs. I actually had eggs before this podcast, and I put the Italian one. And then I'll tell you that, there's this joke of like, oh, my weed dealer sold me oregano. There's oregano in this, and there's hemp flowers in this, and they go together so well. Any chef knows like how herbs and things get blended together. And this has oregano, basil, marjoram, sage, garlic, and hemp flowers. And it's amazing on eggs.
Love it.
I really like it.
Nicole, I got to know, so what's like your background? Because you talked about Oaksterdam and you talked about some things that you've suffered from, also from collect, but like, what is your background? Like, what did you study, or what did you do? What have you done in your life? And I'm just curious now.
How far back you want to go? So we'll go with college. I went to UC Irvine.
Okay.
So I'm a UC Irvine alum. It's actually why we're back in Orange County now. And after college, I studied psychology and social behavior. And I was really interested in why people did the things they did, because I came from a background that was like traumatic and crazy. So I was like, why do people, what motivates people? And after graduating, I didn't want to go into debt. And so I decided to become a personal trainer and help people with my psychology skills and through training. And so I was like the psych trainer, basically, where I would help. And any trainer knows they are actually a psychologist. Like any personal trainer really knows that at the end of the day, you are the best friend and the vent and the coach, the life coach really for your clients. And so I found myself in this position. I've always been like, because I went through a bunch of hard stuff as a child, I've always been like positive, like, oh, I can get through this. And seeing the opportunity, the optimism, being optimistic. Of course, I've had, bouts of depression and things like that, but I've always seen the brighter side to people and to things. I've always give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And so I went into training, and I was personally training for like 10 years now, and just really making my life out of coaching people how to be healthier and happier and in holistic ways. And then that's when I met my partner. I was in DC. So I was in Orange County, and then I found out Washington, DC paid the best. So they averaged like $100 an hour for personal trainer. So I said, well, I'm going there, because over here I'm only making a third of that. So I went over there, you know, lived in a nice high-rise, beautiful place in Washington, DC, you know, was a young girl in the city and loved it. But then I ended up getting sick. I ended up getting ulcerative colitis, and then I ended up within the same year falling down a flight of stairs and getting a concussion that completely changed my career. I said, you can't be a trainer, at least for a few years, because of the post-concussion syndrome, and the ulcerative colitis. My body and my brain were not ready to go into a loud gym and go, you know, push myself. So then from there, in 2014 is when I got sick, and then also had my fall, and that's also when I met Dane. So 2014 completely changed my life, and 2015 is when I entered the cannabis industry as a dispensary owner. And then 2017 is when fires hit Sonoma County. And so then we had to leave Sonoma County because there was no place for us to live. We lost all of our permits and all the buildings we had set up for vertical integration in the cannabis industry under the Prop 64. So then we switched over to the hemp industry, because then we can continue making our products, our whole plant products, with instead a CBDA rich flower instead of a THCA rich flower. So our products have actually always been non-psychoactive, which was a little difficult in the cannabis side, I'll tell you that much.
Interesting. Okay. I'm getting it now. Things are falling into place. And so I want to just point out a few things, especially for the folks who are just getting to meet you and who listen in regularly, is that from what I'm hearing, you didn't necessarily come from the industry. You didn't grow up, my words, nobody else, is a stoner or this and that. You were a UC Irvine student, went to, to tease us out. Now, what I mean is maybe folks but what I'm getting at is that you were a personal trainer. You didn't grow up and say, I'm getting into this industry. Something compelled you. Maybe it was the accident. Maybe it was all these things to take a hard look at what this industry can do. And the reason why I'm framing it that way is because a lot of folks think about, well, I'm only a personal trainer. How do I do something? Or I'm an accountant. How do I do something in the industry? And it was your experience, things that your life experience that parlayed you, or maybe even thrust you into the industry. And whether or not somebody partook in cannabis growing up is different from how one gets into the business of cannabis. And that's what I really want to point out is that, and that's why your history matters, you know, because falling downstairs, Jesus criminy, holy, falling down the stairs. I'm not laughing. It's not funny. It's not funny. But, I mean,
now.
Yeah, Nicole, it's not. I know it's not funny, but it's funny, peculiar how people are getting into the industry, and we all have our cannabis origin story, if you will, as an entrepreneur in the industry. And our episode 1 talks about my origin story, because I was raised anti-cannabis. I can say without a doubt, I was raised to not touch it, stay away. As a military officer, it was never a part of my existence ever. And that's what I'm really teasing out. So whether or not one partakes in the usage of cannabis growing up is different from, as far as some of our listeners, how one gets into the industry and builds something or creates something. So I love it. I got to ask this random question. Your last name, Davidsohn, you spell it, it's spelled differently. It has an H in it. It's Davidsohn, but there's an H. I'm randomly
Where's
curious.
it come from?
Yeah.
My dad's side of the family is from Israel. So it's like a Jewish H. That's what they call it.
Gotcha. Okay. Now I'm even more curious, because you showed us the seasoning. You also have some bottles behind you, some vials, or some, what are those gel caps, tablets? Like tell us, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, definitely. So these are vegan capsules, and they have all of them have a base of the hemp flower, and then they have additional Ayurvedic or Chinese herbs to give you the specific desired outcome. So we have pain relief, energy, mood, pet relief for the pets that need it, and then we have brain and sleep. And so you want to see capsule, let me actually get you a capsule.
I love it. This is like show and tell. I
Yeah,
love,
me too.
yeah.
Okay, so you can see the whole plant. Everything's whole plant. There's no extracts or isolates. There's one extract we add in there, which is called piperine, and that increases the bioavailability of turmeric 200 times and other herbs at least up to 20 times. So you can see that. This is my personal bottle that I grabbed out of my medicine drawer. And I take this every single day to help my ulcerative colitis, and it's triple acting anti-inflammatory. So normal over-the-counter like Tylenol, Motrin, Advil, stuff like that only works on one enzyme in your stomach to create anti-inflammation. But turmeric, ginger, and hemp put together work on 4 enzymes. So it's 4 times more powerful than Tylenol, Advil, anything like that. So anytime you have inflammation, headache, something that you would just take over the counter for, like, oh, I've got some pain, I got a backache, I'm sore from working out after CrossFit. Take a couple of those, lubricate your joints with the turmeric, help your digestion with the ginger, and then of course, bring your body back to homeostasis with the hemp.
Nice.
That's my number one favorite, obviously, because it was our first formula. That's what comes from the juice recipe, which was hemp, turmeric, and ginger. And the reason I actually put turmeric in there was because my other doctor, my GI doctor, told me that, I know you want more holistic ways to heal, try and take a gram of turmeric a day. And that the curcuminoids, which are similar to cannabinoids, they're actually cousins. They help in the inflammation in the gut.
Interesting. I'm learning something all the time. That's wow. And so another question, what are those packages, those little packets there that I see behind you?
So that is the flower powder. That's the actual, like what other people's CBD oil is or CBD isolate. This is our ingredient, which is the whole flower ground down into a powder.
Interesting. So you just mix that in with a drink or something like that? Is that how it works? Or sprinkle it over food? How do you consume that?
Exactly. It literally says supercharge any food or drink by adding flower powder, and 60 milligrams equals about 10 milligrams CBDA. So if you're into dosing, then we have the dose on there. But honestly, I wanted to talk to you today more about cannabis as a food, because you can just mix that into anything. And so if you want to make your own seasonings, you have your special garlic blend for your eggs, right?
Yeah.
Special recipe. So then you can take the flower powder and mix that directly into that garlic seasoning, or you can sprinkle it on top of the eggs if you want like a cute little green garnish, right? Because 60 milligrams, really, just like a pinch of this, you're going to get your daily allotment of cannabinoids. So, but cannabis, like, it's a food. I want to like touch on that and talk to you about that. Is how did we get so far away from the plant being a plant? Like, it grows in the ground, it has leaves, it has flowers, it's a plant, it's an herb, just like oregano, just like garlic. So how did we get so far away and thinking, like, people think it's you have to grow it some special way, or you have to like, it's some like alien or something, right? Do you get that?
Yeah. I do. It was already there. The plant was likely already there before we understood what the hell it was. It was already there, growing and doing its thing, minding its own business as a cannabis plant, and now here we are. So it sounds like there's a certain purity to what you're saying, a purity about the plant and what it means and what it can do.
Yeah, I just feel like there's no reason to alter it. There's no, like, I get the science behind taking out cannabinoids and turning them into medicines. Obviously, I understand that. But I just want to get, like your last podcast about back to basics. I want to get back to basics with the plant and realize that this is a plant and you can grow it. Like, when I first started growing it before juicing it, I grew it in the Aero garden on my countertop right next to the basil seeds they gave me. So Scott's Miracle Grow gave me, non-GMO basil, oregano, parsley, cilantro, and then I put a cannabis seed in one of those little rapid rooter things right next to it. And it all grew, and I just treated it like another herb, and then put it in my juice like another herb, put it in my food like another herb. Why do I have to, I can just pick the leaves off once it flowers. Like when my basil flowered, I could just take the beautiful basil flowers and put them in my food and decorate my food with it and eat it. And I just think that we've gotten so far away from realizing that cannabis is just another food, and you should be eating it every day. It's super healthy for you, healthier than kale and wheatgrass. So why aren't you, eating it and drinking it every single day?
Whole plants for whole people. It sounds like that's almost the essence of what you're sharing right now. Conscious products for discerning consumers. I love it. Tell me about Forbes, the magazine.
Well, yeah. So we were in Forbes in November for the best CBD edible, and that was for our seasoning line here that we've been talking about. And they mentioned how people want to take CBD without oil, sugar, fat, candy, chocolate. This way, you can get your CBD every single day. And Forbes, they highlighted us as one of the top 8 CBD edibles, and next to brands like Lord Jones and Charlotte's Web, which is amazing for our family business of where you're hearing the very humble beginnings.
Gotcha. So everything's tying in, and I'm making that statement for the folks who are listening to this, and I want folks to realize, the ones who are tuning in, watching, or listening, that there's relevance to what you're saying. There's your messaging, who talks about you, the things you're saying. Like I love your voice, Nicole, like what you're saying, and your entrance into the business and the industry and what it means to you. And Mary Jane behind you, your pup. I love that. In other words, it feels like it's all in a symbiotic kind of, like an orchestra. Your messaging on your website, what the feel like. I'm literally looking at it as I'm looking at you, another screen. The whole plants for whole people. What you're saying, actually seeing the product, you're giving us like a triple whammy. Like there's, it's an orchestra. There's a flow to it. It feels good. Those are my words. It just feels like, I need like Eva worldwide. I need Eva CBD in my daily regimen. That's how you're making me feel. Like,
Great.
I can't believe I have been living this long without this in my life.
Yes. That's what actually so many of our customers say. When they get it, they're like, I can't believe I didn't know about this before. That exact thing. I love it. Yes. I'm like, it's so simple. One of the first gardening things I learned at Oaksterdam was KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And that was the first thing I said. I'm going to keep everything simple. This is how life should be. Yeah,
I dig it. Interesting. And the reason why I brought up Forbes is because in my opinion, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and that's a magazine I read religiously. And to be featured in Forbes alongside some of the names you mentioned, and I would envision this. I would also envision that Charlotte's Web and Lord and Jones are saying, I can't believe we were featured next to EvaCBD.com. You know what I mean? Hey. I bet they're saying that right now.
They're probably, I hope they're a little, maybe not a little worried, because, competition is good, but I hope that they're a little curious, saying, oh man, like, we're so big, but she thought of this first.
I love it.
No one else is doing seasonings. And I just think that, especially whole plant seasonings. And by the way, I know that you don't care about this, but all the ingredients are organic. So,
Funny. So I'm going to tease that out for a second, because for the folks this is your first time meeting either one of us. So we've talked before. So Nicole and I had a conversation about maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. And we talked about a few different things. And it was that conversation that made me realize, I'm like, I got to have you and your company on the show. Like there's something distinct about what you're doing. And I want to tease that message out. But what we talked about is conferences. I mentioned, we talked about marketing, and one of the things we talked about, and this is as much a recap for us as it is something new for the listeners, is I go to a lot of conferences and I speak, whether it's keynote or panels, whatever. And especially when I go to CBD or cannabis expos or conventions, I always walk the aisles. I walk around because I want to see what's new. I want to hear what's new. I want to feel what's new, and, you know, touch it, smell it, be a part of it. Let it just hit all my senses, the lights, the sounds. And one of the things we talked about is, and I mentioned it, and folks, if you're a company and this bothers you, you need to change your game. So if you're a company and this is like, if this, what I'm about to say, if it stings, then you're doing something wrong. But let's just say half of the booths, probably more, you feel put out. You feel like you're walking up to a counter. You don't feel welcome. You know, you feel like you'll see the booth, and you folks who are listening or watching, you can envision going to an expo and seeing all the booths lined up, and there's a table and somebody's on the other side of the table and they want you to fill out a piece of paper, or here's our magical thing. And the table is a barrier, or they're behind the table and they're doing this on their iPhone. They're on Instagram or texting. And here's where I get a little raw. How the fuck do you run a business paying thousands of dollars, taking a team of people and products to an event, and you're on your iPhone texting, or you have a table? If your booth doesn't make me feel like it's a living room, like I want to go sit down and engage the way we are right now, Nicole, then guys, you're doing it wrong. And the other part of to what you mentioned about organic is, I took photos the last event I was at, and 9.9 out of all 10 booths said, we're organic, we're non-GMO. And guys, if that is all you can say about your products, you've already lost. And there's nothing, now it has to be, it's a good feature, a good benefit, but here's the beauty about products that stand out, in my opinion, companies. You hear the story. You just heard Nicole's story. You heard why they came to be. You heard why you've taken that extra step. You heard the story of Mary Jane behind you. You'll never forget that. You won't. The people who listen to this will never forget the story of your dog. Never, ever. That's something that makes you and what you guys are doing so distinct and unique. And the cherry on top is Forbes, like Forbes magazine. That's incredible. So I had to get that little diatribe out, because I want folks to understand that what we're doing here isn't just showcasing a cool CBD product. What we're doing is showcasing Nicole and Mary Jane and what you stand for and why you stand for it, and the reasons behind whole plants for whole people. When the industry, in my opinion, when the smart entrepreneurs understand that their company is truly a story, you just happen to sell CBD, then we change things, then things change. So I got to hand it to you, Nicole. The fact that you had the balls, in my words, nobody else's, to put your products right there. Like, if you're watching this, folks, I love it. I love that when, like, this wasn't staged. I didn't say put your logo behind you and make sure you bring tons of products. Like, you took that. That's, guys, this is how you win. There's got to be a little flair, some aggressiveness. And when we did our little pre-chat before we went live, I was like, oh shit, yeah, look at this. Nicole is like on point. She's got her logo. And you even asked me, is my logo looking straight? And I'm like, hell yeah, it does.
This is just thrown together in my own home. Okay, just so everyone knows, it's my calendar and stuff. But I just, I feel like we spoke a couple weeks ago, and we followed up, and you said, what did you really get out of that call? And it was that, I am loud and proud. Like, that is who I am. I've always been this person on a soapbox. When Facebook first came out, I was the one, my whole family told me at Thanksgiving, you're on Facebook too much. You post too much. And I was like, if only, unfortunately, I listened to them as a young girl and was like, you're right, I am on Facebook too much. And so I'm going to delete my account. But if I was still posting as much as I posted back when I was 19 years old, I'd be like have millions and millions of followers and stuff like that. But don't be afraid to be loud and proud. Like, this changed my life. Like, honestly, when I'm sick, and I'm just coming out of a flare right now, and it's really like I've started this from a personal place of healing, right? And now it's turned into a whole new thing, and I really want to get the message out about cannabis as a food. But when I am sick and in pain and have cannabis to eat and smoke to make me feel better, and vape or whatever it is to make me feel better, and then I think of when I didn't have access to it, I feel like a moral obligation to tell people, like, this exists, and this can be a solution for you or your dog, or anyone. It's anyone with an endocannabinoid system, actually. So dogs, cats, lizards, birds, even fish have an ECS. So, whoever I can help, I just have this feeling in my heart. Like, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I just have this in my heart that if someone is like too afraid to use this thing, but it can really change their life and really make them happier and healthier, and like be able to wake up, spend time with their kids, spend time with their family, like achieve their dream, anything. It moves me from the center. And when I'm literally, like last night, my sister texted me and said, "Thank you so much for the Better Pet Relief, because my 15-year-old Chihuahua started having seizures, and for the first time ever. And I was so happy I had your capsules, because I gave her a bunch, and 15 minutes later, she was fine, and she's been fine ever since." And I said, thank God, like, thank the universe, thank you, Mary Jane, for your journey, and for helping every single other dog and pet parent and person, whole people that really want to live life, and they really want to be alive. It comes from my heart. And that, like you said, when I look at other brands and stuff, it really matters, like, where is it coming from? Why am I buying this? What's the purpose?
If I'm picking up what you're putting down, I know that our listeners and subscribers are as well. Really loving this. I'm loving this interview. I don't even call it an interview, just this connection chat, if you will. I love it because it touches on things that are, outside of the industry. It's human. You know what I mean? This is like you. We're getting a taste of you right now. This is so cool. Tell me the next 12 months. So regardless of when a listener tunes in, whether it's January 1st or July 27th, which is my birthday, the next 12 months. And the reason why I asked 12 months is because I like for founders or startup entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, leaders, to think about where their business is going in 12 months in terms of goals. And what does this look like for Eva, for your company, the next 12 months? What are we going to see? What do you want us to see? What are your goals, dreams, visions? What's up?
So we are working on growing and scaling, and we will be fully manufactured in a facility and fulfilled. These are I'm envisioning my goals, right? So my manifestations. We will have many more products. We have many, I'm the formulator here. There's many in the pipeline. And the message is going to be out there. So everyone's going to know who we are, what we're about, why we're in the industry, and why we're even in the natural foods industry, because our seasonings are in the grocery store. So we're not just, like you said, we're outside the box here as well of the, cannabis and CBD industry. But I really feel like our company it's going to 10x. And so we're going to be all over the nation, possibly in other countries as well. And people are, I think, hopefully will start to see that cannabis is another food, and they're eating it in their daily breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're using it on their skin, and they're, taking it as a supplement, pre-workout, post-workout, giving it to their dog. I feel like our company is going to be just, like I said, like 10x where it is now, but 10x and bigger, brighter, more beautiful, and everyone's going to know about it.
Love it. I put a big red circle around that. I took some notes. So growing, scaling, your own fulfillment, product development, people are going to know who you are, but I really put a big red circle around 10x. I love it. Love it. I've really enjoyed this chat. I've enjoyed hearing the story about Mary Jane, about you and what you had done and the reasons why, and then of course where you're headed. So where can folks find you? Where can they find you, whether it's your handles or whatever?
Yeah, so evacbd.com will be the shortest URL. We're also evaworldwide.com. On Instagram, you can go to @EvaCBD. And if you want to check me out, I'm on Instagram at Happy Nixie. Just Happy Nixie. And what else? That's about it. Yeah, just the website, the Instagram. Oh, actually, I started a Facebook group, and I'm going live every Friday and talking about a different topic. And yesterday was about pain in cannabis. And so if you want to join the Facebook group, it's called Holistic Healing with Cannabis, CBD, and Hemp.
Gotcha. Interesting. Lots of places to connect. And for those of you who maybe missed all those, don't try and write as you're driving. We're going to put all those links in the show notes, whether it's YouTube or iTunes. They will all be embedded in there, all the Instagram handles, websites, groups. So just so you guys know, the listeners out there, we're going to put all those in the show notes. And be sure, if you have any questions, drop them in here. Follow her on Instagram. Follow the company. Go to their website. I'm looking at it now as we're wrapping up. It's the splash page above the fold. As I'm looking at it, it's warm. I'm just describing it like live to you as I'm looking at it. It's warm. It's inviting. It makes me feel peaceful when I look at your website. Just that one page, whole plants for whole people. So love it, guys. This has been a lot of fun. Nicole, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, Mary Jane's story, where you guys are headed as a business, and super excited. Really appreciate it.
I really appreciate being here and for you having me on, and your amazing knowledge and experience and everything. This is a great opportunity for myself and my business, and I'm really grateful for everyone who's watching right now. Thank you for tuning in or listening as well. This is a podcast, watching and listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and that comes from the heart.
Love it. So guys, as we wrap up, remember, if you're listening to this on your iPod, on your headset, whatever it is, or watching this on YouTube, WeTube, or any other platforms, I'm not sure. We just seem to get picked up by another platform all the time. But listening to this, watching this, it's because you two are on a weed to know basis. Thank you all so much for listening in, and make sure you subscribe, ask questions, follow up with the folks on their profiles as we put them in the show notes. Have an awesome rest of the day, week, month, and life. Peace.